Alright guys, how's it here? Let's do this. This is part 2 to What If Deku Was the Avatar. Someone disliked my video. It's my first ever dislike. I'm very hurt by it. After I saw the dislike, I didn't post yesterday. I'm sorry. I'm kidding. I don't really care. I'm just messing with you guys. I didn't post yesterday because my phone overheated, and also I ran out of data. And, ooh, Gotham. But, so, let's do this. Also, I broke my computer. Funny story. Without my, pills that I take, which help me control my mood swings, I get very rapid mood swings like my mother. She gets it, like, instantly, like, her mood could be very happy one instant and immediately angry. Mine takes a couple hours for that to happen, so, like, for like an hour I'm happy, and one tiny thing will send me off into a down spiral. Well, my computer wasn't working, and I get angry, and I forgot to take my pills, so it was worse than usual. Usually I can control my anger, I can breathe in and out and calm myself down, but without my pills, I get very angry and I get very violent. The computer wouldn't work, so I was sitting on my bed, legs crossed, the computer was sitting in front of me. I kicked my computer screen, and my computer went off my bed, and when I went to bend over and pick it up, it was broken. So yeah, I broke my computer. I also ended up breaking part of my railing on my floor, or like, cause I had to go all the way up to the third floor to get into my room, and apparently that's like legal to have a gap like that. I don't see why, because I don't have any babies that can fall through that. I mean, my dog could, but she's not stupid enough to do that. Actually, she might be. I know what I'm going to do tonight. But either way, let's do this. Zuko and Todoroki have been dating for about 5 months now. Okay, they started at the beginning of the 10-month period, and it's like the 5th month of the 5 months. Zuko's father is coming home this month, okay? We'll say it's been about 11 years. Zuko's father's coming home, and Todoroki asks, could she meet his father? And Zuko has no problem with it, I don't see why not. My dad's a pretty chill dude, and I mean, he already knows about me and you dating, and I don't see why he wouldn't want to meet you. She holds his hand, kisses him on the forehead, because why not? And she begins walking to her house. Zuko walks off. He holds his forehead, blushing, holding his cheek now. As he's walking, he hears, "Deku!" And Bakugo runs straight at him. Zuko turns around, doing a split, like he jumps, like putting his hands on Bakugo's shoulders, like, and splitting over his body. So, like, Bakugo's running straight at him. Zuko jumps, does a split over the top of him, landing, turning around, and creates a little, like concrete, like, spiral that sucks Bakugo into his hip, and he's just kind of stuck there with his arms on the concrete, and he's trying to pull himself out. And Zuko goes, "Why'd you attack me?" And he goes, I don't know. I just kind of, just angry. And Zuko's like, "Yeah, I know." And this is where things get interesting. Now, Bakugo bullied Todoroki, right? Made fun of her, called her ugly, all that stuff. I think. I don't know. I rewatched it, but I didn't watch the beginning because my voice sucked. My voice sucks. However, Izuku knows that's not the case. Izuku knows that Bakugo isn't actually, angry at anyone. He's mostly angry at himself. And Izuku sits down, pulls Bakugo out of the ground, and, starts walking together. And Bakugo asks, how are things going with him and Todoroki? And Zuko says that it's going good. And Bakugo says that he's happy for him. He actually really is happy. Zuko knows. He goes, it's no problem. Unlike everyone else, I know that you don't mean the things you say. You just say them to look tough and to make yourself feel better. And Bakugo goes, "What do you mean to make myself feel better?" And Zuko looks at him, and Bakugo goes, "Yeah, I guess you're right." The two of them shake hands. Bakugo and Izuku do their little fist bump, pound each other's knuckles from the top to the bottom, lock fingers, pull away. Just like cool dudes would do when they were like 5. Izuku and Bakugo hug. Izuku says that everything's gonna be fine. The two of them are gonna stay friends no matter what happens. Bakugo thanks him for being one of his only actual friends, who actually knows who he is, and says that he hopes things go good with him and him and Todoroki. As Bakugo turns to his street, Izuku continues walking, and out of nowhere he sees something jumping across the sky, landing with a big thud, like a huge boom. Izuku starts running, concerned on what it was. When he gets there, he sees All Might, who's bloody, like actually bleeding from his forehead. And he stands up and he pushes Izuku out of the way. Right as he does that, a huge, we'll say like, crocodile man lands. Because All Might's in a fight with a crocodile dude who punched him pretty far and hit his head on the wall and started bleeding. The crocodile swings its giant claws at All Might, who catches the wrist, like face planting it, breaks its wrist, and hits it so hard that you can see its tongue pop out of its mouth. Like it goes bleh, and it's unconscious. All Might begins putting its arms behind its back and handcuffing it. As he stands up the crocodile, All Might looks at Izuku, thinks he looks kind of familiar, but says, sorry kid, I didn't mean to push you out of the way like that. Izuku apologizes for getting in his way, and All Might says, it was no problem. Seriously, don't beat yourself over it. You just came to see because you were worried. And Izuku, asks him if he's okay. He's bleeding pretty heavily. And All Might goes, oh, what this? And he touches his forehead, and he pulls back, and he goes, that's not that much blood. And Izuku points at his shirt, and All Might lifts up his shirt to see his scar is opening. And, so, let's do this. Izuku, okay, now we're going to flash back to 3 months earlier, before this fight happened. Izuku is talking to Aang on the beach. Because Izuku wants to get stronger. He wants to be able to protect the people he loves and those who can't protect themselves. Like the Avatar should. And Aang's proud of him for feeling and thinking this way. And Aang explains there's a place he can go meditate with spirits, which will give him information on how to grow. Now, I'm getting this idea from a comment. You asked me to do something. I'm not going to spoil it. They already know, because I am going to do what you asked, if you know what you commented about the fish and Zuko and all that stuff. So, if you haven't seen the Avatar, there's a northern water tribe up north where there are two spirits and a tribe of waterbenders. The two spirits are supposed to represent the moon and the ocean, or the moon and the tide. And together they give the power of waterbending. The moon pulls the tide back and forth and all that stuff. That kind of explanation. I haven't seen the show in, 6 years, so I can't dyslexia is kicking me right in the balls. Accurately describe what happened. But Aang explains that the spirits are in a place that will give him quietness and the ability to meditate, and he'll learn a new ability there. And Izuku asks Aang, why don't you just teach me the ability? And Aang explains that it'd be better if you learned from someone who created it, to learn from the people who created it. And I don't know if that's canon, but we'll find out when this happens. Izuku never actually found the money to go, but All Might falls to his knees. Now we're back to normal time, and All Might, Izuku helps All Might up, who deflates into a small form, and Izuku's starstruck, but he lays All Might down, and he begins to push All Might's blood back into his body, so he doesn't bleed out. Izuku's standing there holding the blood in place, because he can control the water in the blood, and this is where he starts to learn blood bending, but he doesn't know that he can actually control people from doing this. He just knows he can control the blood inside them, so he holds the blood still. The medics arrive, the police arrive, and the detective sees All Might, runs over, helping All Might up, and asks Izuku what happened, and he says that the wound apparently opened and he passed out from blood loss. I contained as much blood as I could. We need to get him to a hospital now. And he tells him, come on. And a couple medics come and drag All Might away, and Izuku's standing there holding the blood in place, following them. He gets into the van, the ambulance, and he's holding the blood, and they thank him for doing this, and he says it's no problem. When they get to the hospital, All Might's put into a machine, which starts shooting lasers into his skin, burning the wound. I can't think of the name. Cartilizing. But it starts burning the wound and pretty much sealing it. All Might sits up after the surgery, I guess is what you could call it, and he's thanking Izuku and asks him, please don't tell anyone about what you saw and who I am, truly. And Izuku says that there might be a way he can heal that. And he says, what? And Aang explains that, or not Aang, Izuku explains that his power allows him to control elements, but not only that, each element gives him a special, unique ability. With water, he can heal certain wounds. So Izuku has them bring in, just a thing of water, a bucket of water. Izuku brings it out, putting it on the wound, and it starts to glow. A nice, beautiful, clear, crystal-like blue, as Izuku's trying to heal. And All Might explains that he can feel the pain going away, but he can't, feel the wound fully healing. And Izuku, apologizes, and he says the wound must be too big or too great. I don't know if I can fully heal it. That's when Aang pops up out of nowhere. All Might can see Aang. Now here's the thing. The Avatar, and only certain people who can go into the spirit realm can see spirits, right? And only the Avatar can see other avatars. But Aang, like I said, is like a Force ghost, because he's from a different universe, right? He's from the Avatar's universe. But the Avatar state went into this universe because it clearly needed it, right? So that's what happens. So Aang explains there is a place that has strong enough water and is closest to the moon where he can heal this type of wound. And Izuku says, the Northern Temple. And Izuku explains to All Might what the Northern Temple is. It's an ancient water tribe temple. And All Might asks what the water tribe is, and Izuku explains that before quirks existed over thousands of years ago, you know what? Here we go. Avatar and My Hero, same universe. But the Avatar was thousands of years ago. I mean, almost 20,000, maybe 60,000 years ago. A long time ago. Right? Before quirks were even, an idea. And the Avatar state eventually faded out of people, and they started forgetting their bending ways, and the Avatar couldn't learn the four elements because the four elements weren't being controlled anymore. Until Izuku got it as a quirk, which manifested as the Avatar state. And that's when Aang and the rest of the Avatar started explaining that they need the Avatar back. So they chose Aang to go and teach him. Cool. That's my little story here. And all of the temples that once were are still there, just a little more ruin-like, because they were considered great pieces of ancient history that were to be protected. So Izuku explains to All Might that the Northern Water Temple was a tribe of waterbenders, and that's when All Might goes, waterbenders, like what you can do? And Izuku says, yes. Before there were quirks, there were people who could use the elements, earth, water, air, and fire. Or, in canon, air, water, earth, and fire. And these four elements made what the Avatar was called as was called the Avatar because he can control all four of these elements, unlike every other person on the planet at the time. Each person was either not able to bend or was only able to bend one element. And he pretty much explains the whole lore behind Avatar. I'm not going to go through it, but Oma explains that to think that even if that was true, that level of civilization was lost through the ages is heartbreaking. Aang tells them that if they can get to the if you can get to the Northern Temple on on a day the moon is full, or a night that the moon is full, that's when it will be the strongest, and most likely able to heal this wound without any problems. All Might tells Izuku that he'll get a jet ready for the next time there's a full moon, and Izuku says he'll go. That's when when he leaves, he starts asking Aang, does he really think this will work? Can he actually heal All Might? And Aang goes that the water at the Northern Temple is very, very special, and it's the purest form of waterbending. Those two fish have been circling each other for millennia, and they are the spirits of water and the moon. And he keeps explaining all this lore, and Izuku asks, would it work on a scar? And Aang looks at him, and he thinks back to when he was younger, and he was on the brink of near death, and he remembers the story that Katara told him about how the waters could heal Zuko's scar, or Zuko, not Zuko, Zuko scar, Zuko scar, but he decided to give up that opportunity to save Aang's life. And he looks at him and goes, I think I know what you're planning, and yes, they can. And Izuku thinks about it, and he asks All Might if he can bring his girlfriend along, and he says, why not, I'm only gonna be small for the whole trip, and she'll find out. And, Izuku says that it's no problem, she won't tell a single soul. And All Might's like, fine. And that's when All Might, the day of the ship, not the day of the flight, but like the day that Izuku is talking to All Might, after All Might's been released from the hospital and they're planning the trip, Izuku explains who his girlfriend is. He says, Todoroki, or, what is Todoroki's full name? It was in my head like 20 minutes ago. Shoto Todoroki is his girlfriend, and he explains, Endeavor's kid, and he goes, yes, and he goes, if you trust her, then fine. And Izuku says that he trusts her with his life. And All Might says, well, I hope I can trust mine with hers. And another 2 months, they begin their flight to the north. When they get there, it's just All Might, Izuku, and Todoroki. And Todoroki is walking. She's not cold. Izuku's not cold, but All Might is freezing his ass off. And Izuku just, boom, creates fire in his hand. Like, Uncle Iroh, I believe is his name. Zuko is uncle. Just poof, a thing of fire in his hand to warm them both up. They walk closer to him, and Izuku sees it, and he goes there. And they see a giant freaking wall of just ice. And All Might asks how they expect to get around that. And Izuku explains, only waterbenders can get into the temple. That's why it's been undisturbed for all these years. As he begins to melt the ice and doing the wave form that the people did in the show to melt the giant wall, he begins doing that, but creating a door, because that's what they did. They created a giant half circle to let Appa in. He does that, but a little smaller. It goes down, and as they walk in, because they just walk in, they get to another gate, which Izuku asks if they're gonna be upset at him, and they say for what. And as he begins melting the ice, the water fills up, and he explains that to get in, they need to get over this wall, as Izuku doesn't want to melt this wall and until he can close the one he just got to. So as he gets to the top, scratch that. Izuku just does the same thing. He closes the other side, opens this side, walks in, closes this side. As they're exploring the temple, they see hundreds of buildings and ice sculptures and a fountain that's still spraying water. All Might's, just amazed, and Todoroki is walking around by herself. She wanders off. Izuku follows her as Todoroki begins looking at this picture of what seems to be a young group of kids. And it's obviously painted. It wasn't like an actual picture. All Might eventually catches up with them, and he points and goes, "That was the guy that I saw at the hospital." And Zuko goes, "Yeah, that was Aang, or me, I guess." And that's when Todoroki's like, "What?" And he goes, I don't actually have a quirk. What I'm using is called bending. I'm the Avatar." And he begins explaining the whole conversation to Todoroki, who's kind of confused but kind of understands a little bit. And he explains that the Avatar is reincarnated to each tribe, is it a tribe technically? The Water Tribe, the nations, each 4 nations, the Water Tribe, Fire Tribe. I don't know. Just reincarnated to each group. And apparently Izuku is a reincarnation of this boy. His name was Aang, and he was the last airbender. And he points, and he remembers all of their names, and he gets flashbacks of Aang's memories, or his memories, when he's looking at the picture of them laughing, and Zuko there. This is after the war. They defeated the Fire Lord, and they were just sitting there having a good time at the Northern Temple. And they they drew a picture of the group all together. And as they continue walking, Izuku can feel the just raw power for in this place. As he continues walking, he feels a pull to a certain area. I don't fully remember where the moonfish and waterfish spirits are, or the moon spirits. I don't know where exactly it was, but I do know it was like hidden. And Izuku will just say finds the entrance to it, just naturally drawn to it. As he walks in, he sees the 2 fish, and when they walk in, they see Aang sitting there, talking to the white fish. And Izuku asks why he's talking to the fish, and Aang explains that an old friend has half her soul living in this fish. She gave her life so the fish could live. And it's just an old friend that he's talking to. And Izuku, as Aang explains, Izuku gets flashbacks. Was Aang awake for when that girl passed away and gave her life energy to the fish? I don't think he was, but he gets, we'll just say, a memory of people telling him, or if it did happen, a memory of the fish coming back. And a small tear goes down Izuku's eye as he wipes it away and goes, "Oh." And as he kneels down onto one knee and then onto the other, he sits crisscross and begins closing his eyes as he asks All Might to walk into the water. As All Might does, he asks All Might to lay onto his back, which All Might does. As he begins floating onto his back, the fish begin following him as he drifts around the pond. They circle underneath him in a circle, basically, swimming around each other underneath his back. As they do that, Izuku, his eyes begin to glow, and the fish, they begin to glow. And All Might, his wound begins to glow itself, as the water seems to be crawling over his stomach and into the wounds. As you can see, All Might is regaining muscle mass. He's getting bigger and bigger, and eventually All Might's wound is 100% healed. Now, I don't remember anything from the show at all. I remember bits and pieces and certain things. Now, I do know that I keep saying Izuku, that Zuko could have gotten rid of his scar, but instead he decided to save Aang's life. I don't know if that's, because it's only a one-time use thing or something like that. We'll just say that Izuku can do it multiple times. I don't know. I'm sorry if I'm ruining the show. I'm sorry. But, as he does that, he looks over, after he finishes, and All Might stands up in the water. and the two fish begin swimming around his legs, and he bends over and puts his hand rubbing one of the fish's backs and saying thank you. As he walks out of the water, Todoroki looks at him and goes, "Do you think this could?" And Izuku goes, "That's why I asked you to come. If you want, I can get rid of your scar." And she puts her hand over her eye and goes, "I would like that." And Izuku, he gently puts his hand in the water, scooping up a bit of water, then begins to waterbend it as it goes over her eye, and her scar begins fading. Her skin becomes a normal color again, and it's gone. She thanks him, and she starts crying as she hugs him, then kisses him, and then continues to kiss him, and All Might's like, okay, this is getting awkward. The two of them stop. The fish are swimming around, super excited like. And Izuku explains that he needs for them to both be very quiet as he's going to meditate and try to commune with the spirits. As he sits down again, crossing his hands, connecting them, crossing his feet, his eyes glow again, but this time he's not doing anything, he's just sitting there, and we go to Izuku, who's in the, just in a just random forest, we'll say. As he's there, he sees a couple different avatars that he can recognize from memories that belong to each one of them. He sees Aang. He says he sees the Firebender and the can't think of her name, but the female avatar that did that cool badass moment where she split an island in half. And then he sees Waterbender. So he sees an Earthbender, a Firebender, an Airbender, and a Waterbender. So those are the 4 avatars he sees. Each one of them look at him. All together they explain that he must be able to save the world from the threat that is coming. And Izuku goes, "What threat?" And Aang, as the other 3 fold back into him, he says, "There's a man that All Might has been fearing for his life. All Might thought he defeated him 5 years ago, but he did not. This man can destroy the peace in the world. It is your job to defeat him and bring balance to the world." And Izuku bows to his master, and Aang says, sorry, I'm burping. That was weird. And Aang says that you have to figure out the rest of this on his own, as the Avatar state will never go away, and they will never leave him, but they cannot continue communicating with him at this rate, as it drains the Avatar state, and he will need as much of the Avatar state in his body as he can muster to defeat this man. Izuku agrees, and Aang passes on 3 last teaching methods. He shows Aang how to bend lightning, how to bend metal, and how to bend blood. He only shows the technique and the movement for it, not how to master it on his own. Or, he will have to master it on his own. And as Izuku wakes up out of the little meditation state, he smiles as he goes, "Alright, let's go." And the 3 of them begin walking back to All Might's private plane. As they're on their way back, we have 4 months left, 3 months left before the 10 months are over. Izuku and Todoroki's relationship continue growing. Now it's 1 month before the U.S. entrance exam, and Bakugo and Izuku are hanging out, and Bakugo sees Todoroki walking over, and he looks at Izuku, who says, "You should. She'll forgive you." And when she walks over, she sees Bakugo, who says Todoroki, and she says Bakugo. He goes, "I need to talk to you." And she goes, "What is it?" He goes, I'm sorry for the way I treated you in the past." Zuko knows this, but I push my feelings onto other people. I push people away and I hurt them because I'm scared that if I let them in, they'll abandon me and hurt me. And she forgives him for everything he's said in the past and done. He, starts crying a little bit, and three of them start hanging out for the next month. All Might is seriously thinking about giving Izuku one for all because, the power he has plus one for all, he'd be unstoppable. But while he's thinking about this, All Might gets a visit from a certain air nomad. We see Aang, who's struggling a lot to keep him in this position, as normally he can only communicate with people when Izuku is there, and he can channel his body or his spirit through Izuku. Izuku's not in the room, and so Avatar Aang is struggling a lot to keep himself there. He explains to All Might to not give Izuku one for all. All Might asks how he knows, and Aang looks at him and goes, "We know everything. We've been alive for as long as I can remember. Almost the entire lifespan of the Earth. But if you give Izuku one for all, you'll create a force that you cannot control." All Might asks, then why can't he, Just because Izuku will be unstoppable? And that's when Aang explains that Izuku passes on the Avatar state randomly. But if a quirk that is used to pass on to other people connects with the Avatar state, whenever Izuku passes on one for all to someone else, he'll also pass on the Avatar state. And if Izuku chooses wrong, the Avatar state could be used to destroy and end the world. And All Might goes, "I didn't know this." And Aang looks at him and goes, "You weren't supposed to. But there is another who may benefit better from this quirk." And All Might asks, "Who?" And Aang goes, "You already know." "Well, deep down you do. After all, you've already met him, haven't you?" All Might, as Aang fades away, All Might starts thinking of what he was talking about. Who's someone he's already met that suits it? And he thinks back to Muriel, who he met due to Night Eye's request, and All Might was reluctant at first, but met him. And All Might did remember that Muriel is way better suited to use one for all than Midoriya is anyways. And his overwhelming presence and his power that would make him one of the strongest characters in My Hero Academia ever. And if he was given it, he would become the next symbol of peace. So All Might decides to do just that. He'll go give one for all to Muriel. But, this is reaching 30 minutes. Should I continue? Or should I not? Should I make the entrance exam another bit? Or should I leave it off at this? I think I'm going to continue because I really like this What If. And I really hope you guys do too. I do take suggestions, people. If you leave a comment, I will eventually read it, even though it may take me a couple months or a year. I will read it and eventually I will try to respond. But if you guys really do have any suggestions for ideas you want me to see, just say it. If you have an issue with something like, hey, Hauser, Aang never learned how to metal bend. I don't know if he did or not. I don't remember. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't care. Hurtful comments don't hurt me. I don't get hurt by people saying things. I mean, the amount of things I've had friends call me, the amount of names that they have called me, and the things they've said to me are pretty bad, but I don't get hurt by that. Not anymore. Because people think of pain as, two types, emotional and physical, and that emotional pain is worse. It is, but it's also easier to control. Physical pain, you can't control that. You get hit, it will hurt. But if someone says something to you, it will hurt, but you can make it stop hurting. If someone stabs you, you can't make that pain go away eventually. That pain will stay there until the wound heals itself. But with emotional pain, you can just remember that whatever they say isn't always true. I had a friend who's not a friend anymore say something about how it's not right that I like boys and girls. And he said some hurtful things, and I didn't listen to him because he was wrong. You can love whoever you want. You can do whatever you want. Just don't kill anyone, please. Don't take my advice saying you can do whatever you want to go off and rob a bank and then shoot 3 people. Don't do that. Don't. But just know that no matter what someone says to you, they're most likely wrong, and they're saying it out of their own physical pain. Maybe something happened at home. Because this friend who's no longer a friend, of course we aren't friends anymore, but I learned eventually that his dad was not a good man. And he got hurt a lot at home. So I forgave him, and of course we're not friends anymore, but that's not because of what he said. That's because we can't see each other. He lives all the way in Canada, and I live here in Boston. So unless we both want to buy tickets on an airplane or drive a few hours to see each other, it doesn't really work that way. So we can't see each other. But he's a good guy. He, don't think anything of what I said about him saying some stuff that hurt me as like, that guy's not cool, that's not right. Everyone says stuff because they themselves have problems in their lives too. You're not the only one out there who can't, be with someone they love because other people think it's wrong. Just know that. Let's actually get back to the what if. I'm sorry, I'm being a complainer, I guess. I'm complaining, but let's do this. So, what to do. So the 10 months are over, and Izuku's father is home. After the 11 years he's been gone, his boss opens the company. The company that his boss opens, where Izuku lives, will be called Housing for Heroes. It's called that, so what happens is young heroes in training can live without having to, make money. Because we'll say the hero world, people, unless you're a professional, you don't really get money that much. So you get, they made hero houses. So they team up with schools like UA and other schools and make housing units for students who need a place to stay while they're being taught how to be heroes. And this is where Nezu gets the idea for the dorms. But, ooh, yay! Okay, but Nezu doesn't fully increase the dorms yet, do the dorms yet, so, here's the thing. But, Izuku's dad has become the, the head, he's the highest ranking person in the company behind the owner of the company himself. So he now lives back with his family, and he oversees everything that his company does in the town they're in, or the city they're in, right? So Nezu asks him, if they could begin working on their dorms, and he says it would take a couple months, but yeah, the dorms should be done in almost 6 to 5 months. Nezu explains that he's very thankful for this, and he explains that it's his job. And he begins walking home when he spots a familiar-looking face, the one that he hasn't seen in almost, 11 to 8 years. Or, yeah, no, not 8. 11 to 15 years, because Izuku's 15. And his dad left, we'll say, when Izuku was 2, so 13 years he hasn't seen this person. Guess who it is? It's Bakugo, but Bakugo's dad. It's not Bakugo, it's his dad. And we'll just say their fathers were very close. That's actually how Inko and Bakugo's mom met, was through their husbands. And then they became really close friends too. But the two of them, spot each other, they run over, they hug each other, and he asks, Bakugo's dad goes, "I didn't know you were coming home." And he goes, "Yeah, I was gonna surprise you guys by showing up at your house with a bouquet of flowers and some alcohol." And he goes, "Are you serious?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm serious. We haven't been able to drink together in what, 13 years?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's good to see you, man." And Izuku's dad asks, how's young Bakugo? And he says he's troublesome. But he's doing better than he was when he was little. He's learning to calm down. But the two of them walk off, and eventually they go separate ways. And Izuku's father walks into his house, right? And Inko, she keeps the keys. We'll just say in the underneath the plant on the front porch. It's a fake plant, so she never has to water it, but it looks very convincing, right? And he takes the plant, lifts it up, takes the key, and opens the door. As he walks in, he hears his wife, and he's happy. He hasn't actually seen her in almost 13 years again. But as he's walking in, he hears a voice he doesn't recognize. It sounds like a young girl. As he's walking, he hears, "Come on, Izuku, please." And Inko looks at him and goes, "Come on, you're gonna keep her waiting? Just do it." And Izuku's like, "Come on, Mom, I don't want to." And that's when Inko's like, "Oh, you don't want to kiss her?" And that's when, now you guys know it's Todoroki. Todoroki goes, "What? You don't want to kiss me?" And he goes, "Not like that. I don't want to kiss you in front of my mother. It's weird." And she goes, "Please, I was going to send this to your father before he gets back. Hurry up." And Izuku's like, "Fine." And he kisses his girlfriend, Todoroki, as we see his father walk around the corner. And he goes, "Hey guys, what's up?" And he sees his son kissing a girl. He sees his wife taking a picture. And he drops his case, runs over, takes his phone out, and starts taking pictures as well. Izuku realizes his dad's there. He goes, "What are you guys doing?" And his dad goes, "Well, I'm getting in on the action. I want to take pictures of my boy and his girlfriend." As he pulls away from Todoroki, she pulls her hair back, moving it around her ear. She's happy, happier than she's been in a while, especially with her scar removed now. So Izuku's father asks him, how's he been, and spill all of the tea about him and his new girlfriend. Izuku explains that they've been dating for 10 months, and his dad goes, Good. That's a good relationship, 10 months. Hopefully you can stay with her." And Izuku goes, "Well, that's the thing. We were going to ask you and tell you about the two of us dating, but we also wanted to wait until today when you got home so you could actually meet her yourself. And we'll say this is like 3 hours later, like after the pictures of the two of them kissing. Him and his dad are talking. It's a party, the four of them, and it's been about 3 hours since he got home, and they called over Bakugo's family. We'll say it was noontime when he got home, so 3 hours. It's 3 o'clock, right? Bakugo walks over. He sits down with his two new friends, because him and Todoroki haven't been friends for that long now, and the three of them are talking, chatting it up. And Bakugo's parents walk over and sit down there. The couples are hanging out. Bakugo's sitting there, and he asks, "Did you ask your dad yet? Come on, you gotta do it sometime." And that's when Izuku, goes, "Just let him get used to the idea of me being with someone before I ask him." And Bakugo hits him on the shoulder and goes, "Come on, I can't wait to be your best man." And if you don't get what I'm saying, Izuku has proposed to Todoroki. Flashback to 3 weeks ago, in the back, before his father came back. Izuku gets down on his knee at the beach that they spent so much time together, pulls out a ring and asks her, "Todoroki, will you marry me?" She starts crying and says, "Of course. Why would you think I'd say no?" And he goes, "I didn't. I figured you'd say yes." The two of them kiss. He picks up Todoroki, spins her around, super happy, and they walk home, and the first person they show is Bakugo, who's like, "Yes! I am your best man, got it? No one else." And Suzuki goes, "Sure, whatever you say." And Bakugo is like extremely happy for them. Todoroki and Bakugo have been getting along great ever since she found out Bakugo's true self. Then they showed Izuku's mother and then Bakugo's family, and they were gonna wait until Izuku's dad gets home. Now this is back to the 3 hour to like 20 minutes after the party started. His dad walks into the kitchen where Izuku's sitting there, and Todoroki's there. Bakugo went into the other room so they could do this by themselves, as he understands it's gonna be kind of difficult to ask. His dad looks over and sees the two of them, kind of nervous. He goes, "What's wrong, you two?" And Izuku goes, "Dad, there's something I need to show you and ask you." And as he walks over, Todoroki shows him her hand, and he goes, "Oh my god. Oh my god, this is awesome." And the two of them are excited because he's actually, not angry about it. Why would he be angry, you say? Because he doesn't know her, and they wanted to make sure. He hugs the two of them and goes, "You don't even have to ask. Of course I'll support you two." And that's when Izuku goes, "Good. Now there's the problem of your dad." And Todoroki goes, "Oh, don't remind me." And the two of them go back in the party, and they'll say they'll do it later. Bakugo and Izuku are hanging out, and Todoroki's chatting it up with the moms. And the two best friends, Bakugo's father and Izuku's father, are drinking like it's like the end of the world, and the doctor's coming to saw their legs off. The two of them are just chugging. And this is their personalities when they get drunk. Bakugo's father, you know how in canon he's really timid? When he gets drunk, he gets like hardcore, stands up for everything. He's like, "I love the Patriots! Yeah!" And, and Izuku's father, when he gets drunk, he's the guy who like apologizes for everything, He ends up bumping into Todoroki, and he bows. He goes, I'm sorry. He's drunk, and she says it's okay. And the two best friends, hang out, and they continue drinking. They are down like eight bottles of beer. Izuku and Bakugo are sitting there playing a game when Todoroki walks over, puts her head on Izuku's shoulder, and asks, "Who is it?" Sorry, someone's at my house. What time is it? Oh god, it's 6 o'clock. Danny Phantom! Go Phantoms! Fandoms. Hallelujah. Ooh, yay, someone commented. Let me continue this and I'll read that later. Alright, so, now that the party's done, and Bakugo stayed the night, Bakugo's parents also stayed the night. Bakugo's parents are in the guest room, Izuku's father and mother are in their room. Izuku, Bakugo, and Todoroki are in Izuku's room. Todoroki is sleeping on the bed. Bakugo and Izuku are sleeping on the floor. Him and Bakugo are chatting it up. It's like midnight now. Todoroki rolls over and goes, "You two need to go to bed. Don't forget you guys have the UA entrance exam tomorrow." Bakugo and Izuku look at each other and go, "Oh crap, that's tomorrow?" She goes, "Yep, I get to sleep in." And she says that she already called her father and said that she's not coming home tomorrow. So she's going to stay the day with Izuku's family. Izuku says that's okay. As him and Bakugo wake up, it's now 6:40 a.m. for them. As they sit up, Izuku goes into the bathroom first, takes his shower, puts his clothes on. Bakugo goes in, takes a shower, puts his clothes on. Izuku walks into his room while Bakugo's doing that. Walks over and kisses Todoroki on her forehead, wakes her up, and goes, "We'll be going." She goes, "Okay, just don't do anything stupid." And he goes, "How could I? You're taking all the stupid with you." And he walks off. She laughs, and he goes, "What?" And she goes, "You're quoting Captain America." And he goes, "Oh, you've seen it?" And she goes, "Of course I've seen it. I'm rich." And he goes, "I love those movies." And he walks off. She continues laying in his bed, and as Izuku begins walking with Bakugo to UA. So should I don't want to continue because I don't want this video to be too long, because then I'm going to have to go through and watch the whole thing, and I'm going to end up killing myself with a goddamn pair of scissors. I'm going to stab myself in the stomach and cut all the way up to my neck. I'm kidding. I would never actually do that. Suicide's a stupid thing. You should never joke. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have joked like that. But let's do this. I'm going to continue. Zuko and Bakugo are walking together, and Zuko begins to trip. As he trips, he slides, like he begins to fall, and he catches himself Uraka notices, was about to like high five him on the back, practically use a quirk basically. And he catches himself and continues walking. Him and Bakugo. Bakugo goes, "That was a close one." And Zuko goes, "Yeah, I would have been fine though." As the two of them walk off, Uraka just kind of stares at the two of them, and she just walks in behind them. During the entrance thing, Bakugo is chatting it up with Izuku. The two of them are talking. They're super excited because they're planning on having a wedding in a year and a half when Izuku and her are both 16. I know, really young to get married, 15, but if other people can do it in their what ifs, so can I. Because I've seen two what ifs where someone gets the like Momo and Izuku married, and Izuku and this person married, and I'm like, that's not fair. I should be able to do that. Why can't I? God damn it! All right, let's do this. Ida stands up, explodes on the two of them. "You two have been talking this whole time. Blah 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 blah. Shut up." He explains to President Mike that it is a mistake on UA paper. It's very shameful. President Mike then explains to him that he needs to shut his fucking pie hole and that it's not a mistake, that it's actually there, it's going to be in the entrance exam. Let him finish and let him then explain that after he finishes what he's talking about now. Ida sits down and goes, "Okay." And everyone starts laughing. Ida's kind of like, because President Mike was unloading on him. President Mike explains the 0-pointers. Then they all go off. Izuku's off in his one. Bakugo gets the same as usual. He gets over 100 points. Izuku, however, as he begins, he walks in. And then, right off the bat, he gets jumped by 4 robots. One punches him in the back. The other hits him in the face. But luckily, Izuku's been training on his metal bending. Just a little bit. Enough that he can actually move the metal. He can't actually like do what Toph does and like crush and fold it around her, but he can move it side to side like you would with blood bending. And since these guys are entirely made out of metal, he ducks one of the punches from the one in front of him. They're like in like a plus shape, and he's in the middle of it. The one on his right swings his fist. The one on his left swings its fist. He ducks. The two fists hit each other. He then he uses metal bending to push their arms up and then down. So he does he pushes his arms to hit so he hits them with his palms and then goes both his arms down to his sides, which like their arms are straight, so both of their right arms are out. They like fold, so if you straighten your right arm as far up as it will go and like continue bending and it like snaps backwards, that's what happens to them. He then begins to earth bend again, spinning in a circle, creating a giant pole that goes straight up. As he jumps off the pole, he lands, and the pole shrinks back down, and he, sticks his fingers into the ground, pulling up the earth like a carpet and flapping it, and the 4 robots fly in the air and crash and get destroyed. He continues walking forward when he sees a young boy with a belly button that's shooting big blue light. He runs over as he's about to get stomped on by a 3-pointer. And he runs over, he kicks the 3-pointer in the head using air bending to spin around, slicing its head off with the air as he falls to the ground. Izuku doesn't have any water on him because, well, he didn't think about it. And then he begins to, because the 3-pointer's still alive, basically, he begins to firebend. He does 2 fire punches, which send fireballs hitting the 0-pointer's chest, or not 0-pointer, the 3-pointer's chest. And Izuku takes a running start, and he folds a bunch of rock around his leg, like Toph does with metal, and like Aang did when he like touched the wall and formed rock around his arm. And he does it on both legs, and he drop kicks the center, which is all heated up and red from the fireballs, kicking the whole red section out of the 0-pointer, or the 3-pointer, not 0-pointer, and it has this giant hole inside of it, and it falls to the ground. Zuko then begins to turn around as he sees the kid picked up, like Bane did Batman, and is about to snap his back, right? Zuko takes a running head start, and, like, runs forward and does, like, a backflip, but as a kick as well, using one foot to kick the kid up in the air out of the robot's hands, and the other kick to split it in half. As he lands, the zero pointer, or not the zero pointer, the robot breaks, exploding, and he uses airbending to gently put the kid down, and then drops him when he's like 2 inches off the ground. Boom. And as he runs off, the kid, thanks him. As he's running, he sees Ida, who's being swarmed by like almost 20 robots. And he's running back and forth, destroying it. And Izuku's, seeing this kid, he's an expert with his quirk. Just back and forth, back and forth. And he realizes the kid needs no help. But as he says that to himself, boom, the zero pointer stands up. As the zero pointer stands up, he begins to turn around and focus on the little robots. But he hears a girl scream, looks over, sees it. She's trapped under a rock. He runs over, and Earth bends the rock up into the air, hitting the zero pointer right in its knee, right? And it gets stuck in between its knee joint, and the zero pointer's leg starts overheating, and it blows up as it falls onto its leg, which is now almost half gone. So it's like if you fell onto your knee. Izuku begins running, and he drags his hand across the metal using firebending to heat up his palm like Zuko did to melt the ice. And he heats up the whole left or right leg of the zero pointer. Its left leg is blown off. The zero pointer has a huge red mark going up its right leg. Then he begins to airbend, and he makes a huge gust of wind hit the metal that's all heated up, and it breaks it, splitting its leg into 2 separate pieces. And it falls down to both its knees. As it begins slowly falling onto its stomach, Izuku lands on the ground using airbending, spins around, stomps both his feet, gets into like a position like a Super Saiyan charging up. And then he pushes both his hands up, and 2 pillars of rock hit it right in its shoulders, pushing it up into the air, making it fall into its back. He then jumps, landing on its stomach, using the firebending technique of blow your ass up, which isn't a real thing. I was just trying to be funny. I'm not funny, I know. But he does like 3 punches to its stomach with firebending, and then he jumps with like incredible ease using airbending to make him fly just a tiny bit up in the air. Then he spins in a circle, making himself like what the Flash can do when he spins in a circle, creating himself like a hurricane or like a tornado. But he's like a drill going straight down, hitting the metal fire, like the heated up metal, going straight through its stomach and into its chest. But when he gets in there, here's a thing I'm gonna do. The zero pointer has like tiny little other robots, like 1 pointers and 2 pointers inside of its body that are repairing it. And they all turn at once, seeing Izuku, who immediately regrets his decision and goes, "Okay, guys, let's not do anything you guys will regret." And they all charge forward at him, and he goes, "Okay." Swings both his arms up and makes like a thunderclap of just pure wind pushing throughout the zero pointer's body, and it looks like steam's coming out of every crack and crevice of the body of the zero pointer. Eventually, it builds up so much that it pops, like if someone blew too hard on a balloon and it put too much air into it, and bah! The zero pointer pops, and Izuku lands. And we'll say he got a total of 30 points for the single robots he took out, and the 60 rescue points, plus a couple robot points for defeating the ones inside, because we'll say each robot has a cam on it so they can see who took it out, and they saw that Izuku took out a bunch of the ones inside, which count. So they gave him a total of 160 points. So he has 70. He got 70 villain points from the from feeding all the robots inside, 30 from defeating the ones outside, and 60 for saving Uraraka. Take away 40 from the 70, leaving you with 3, getting you up to 100, plus 30, plus 30, so 60, 160. There you go. There's math. I hope I did it right. I probably didn't. Probably just made myself look like a huge idiot. But Izuku then goes home, where he hangs out with his girlfriend, or soon-to-be wife, who's sleeping in his bed still, as she's been kind of just laying there all day. She hung out with his mother and father a little bit, but his father had to go to work, and his mother eventually went grocery shopping, so she went back to bed. And Izuku doesn't want to wake her. It's like 7 o'clock at night. He's been at the entrance exam for like the whole day. He wrote a bunch of essays. He defeated a bunch of tests. So he got there. He left at 6 o'clock, and he got home at 7. So almost a whole bunch of 12 to something hours. So almost half a day, I guess you could say. Actually, yeah, 12 hours is half a day, right? Because 12 plus 12 is 24. Huh, cool. But Izuku, he gets ready to lay down on the floor, and she wakes up and she grabs him by his collar, pulling him into the bed. And Izuku's now being cuddled by his girlfriend, soon-to-be wife. And she says that this is nice. She doesn't really get to sleep with him. She's never slept with him before. Zuko gets a little bit of a chub, if you get what I'm catching my drift, or catching my fish, or my anchor, or my lure, or my I don't know, I'm trying to be funny, but I'm not. Izuku just kind of stays there, and eventually he goes to sleep with her. And we're going to leave that off with an hour and 1 minute video. All of that just to get through that tiny bit of entrance exam. I hope you guys enjoy. Hauser signing out. Hope you stayed safe. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you like. I hope you comment. I hope you had a good day. And I sure as hell hope that you like this video, because if not, I'm not doing another part. I'm kidding. You don't actually have to like it. Just tell me that you liked it in the comments. Because you don't actually have to like my videos. I don't care about that. I just care about you guys telling me that you do like it. Because if you do like it, then I'll do more of it. Because I don't know what you like and what you don't like. Like, I know all of you like the Lucifer's Son one, because I get a lot of comments to do that one. And some people like this one because at least 14 people like this. So I will certainly try to definitely do more videos you guys want. So maybe I'll do a Lucifer one later. It's 6 o'clock though. Yeah, it's 6:54 for me. So I will probably not do another bit tonight because I have to go to sleep at 8 o'clock. So I have 2 hours to try. Maybe I'll do another bit. Probably, actually. It's not too late and my phone is acting up. Shut up. Alright, I'll be going. See ya. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you like. Hope you stay safe. And I hope you had a